Hello everyone, today's video is another Q&A video talking today about methylene blue, high-dose MSM, and Primal Trust. As per usual, nothing that I'm saying should be construed as medical advice. This is for informational purposes only. If you need medical advice, please talk to your healthcare provider to get that advice. And if you don't mind taking a moment at some point to please like, share, subscribe, and or post a quick comment on the video, I'd really appreciate it. So thanks in advance for taking a second to do that. As you can see, I'm still working from home. My family members still in the hospital, but getting better and stronger every day. Yeah, hoping to be back in the office soon, but still working from home for now. And thank you for all the continued well wishes from folks and their YouTube comments and other comments and everything. I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me and my family, so thank you for that. So there were a couple of questions about methylene blue, just a couple quick ones. So one is, can I take methylene blue with glutathione? To my knowledge, there's no contraindication to take methylene blue and glutathione together. Just the question is kind of why? Why would we take glutathione with methylene blue? Now, I have some patients who are taking both, and they seem to do better with taking both. They were typically already on the glutathione because I've been using glutathione for way longer than I've been using methylene blue. We added in the methylene blue, and sometimes they're like, this is working better. And then we take away the glutathione because methylene blue, being a really, really, really strong antioxidant, could potentially preclude the need to be on glutathione. So if we have them on methylene blue, it's working better. We take the glutathione away, it's working just as well. Then we just work with the methylene blue. But sometimes when we take the glutathione away, it doesn't seem to work as well. And so we have them on both. So as a general rule, if I have a patient who's not on a strong antioxidant and I'm thinking like, I think I'm on a really strong antioxidant, let's work with some methylene blue, I'd usually start them on the methylene blue nowadays and then see how that's going. If that's not really knocking it out of the park, then I might not even worry about the glutathione, because if methylene blue is not doing the trick, then glutathione might not do the trick. But if they were doing well with if they were doing well with methylene blue, and but just not quite getting the results I was looking for, they're improved but not quite, or haven't quite reached the goals we were looking for, then I might add in glutathione on top of that to see if there's an additional benefit. But in my experience, I would say that generally speaking, if they're on methylene blue and it's helping, then adding in glutathione doesn't really seem to make much of a difference. But please let me know in the comment section if you're taking both, you find them both to be helpful. I'd be curious to hear what other folks are finding, but that's my experience with it. So thank you for that question. The other quick question here about methylene blue is, it says here, apparently there are no foods which interfere with methylene blue. Is this correct? So I guess it's, semantics. So maybe there's no foods that interfere with methylene blue, but there are certain foods that maybe we need to be careful with taking methylene blue. With methylene blue, it seems to have a mild MAOI function, monoamine oxidase inhibition effect. And so by inhibiting that enzyme, it means that it could potentially be dangerous to consume foods that are high in tyramine. Tyramine is high in foods that are aged, fermented, or cured. So like fermented soy products, like cured meats, cheeses, that kind of thing. And so if folks are on MAOI inhibitor drugs, then they're actually counseled to avoid those high tyramine foods. To my understanding, it's not the tyramine that interferes with the drug, it's just that when we're inhibiting the monoamine oxidase, the tyramine can't be broken down efficiently, and then it will trigger the release of more norepinephrine, which can cause an acute hypertensive crisis, and that's not good. So again, semantics, but generally with methylene blue, we probably want to be careful with those higher tyramine foods. Now, are there any studies looking at this, telling us exactly how much is safe to consume? It's like, no, I haven't been able to find that information anyways, but that is sort of a general recommendation to be careful with those. But if I was taking methylene blue myself and I was at a party and there were some, cured free-range meats or something like that, I probably wouldn't stress too much about having a little bit. But if I was getting, a lot of my calories out of cured meats, I would be really hesitant to take methylene blue at the same time. But in terms of the exact ratio, the exact proportion there, as always, have to talk to your healthcare provider about that one. So those are the methylene blue questions. So the next one here, interesting comment here from another clinician. So I posted this video called Why I'm Excited About High Dose Sulfur Therapy with MSM. Posted this video a few months ago, and the comment says, just found high dose MSM about 6 months ago and been getting great results in many stuck patients too. I found that most can tolerate it low and slow, but there are a handful that can't tolerate it even at a pinch. Molybdenum hasn't helped with tolerance here. Have you solved that one yet? So thanks for the question. I do find it's a paucity of patients who can't tolerate MSM. I've had some patients where we've gone low and slow and they're flaring, then we go even lower and slower and they seem to tolerate it well. And then I have some patients where we try to go lower and slower and they just still can't tolerate it. So I'm not sure the exact numbers, but I would say like of the, I don't know, maybe 350 patients or so that I put on high dose MSM now, I would say that I have maybe 5 to 7 who just do not seem to be able to tolerate it for under any circumstance. I've had maybe another dozen or so patients who get some side effects. Like, ironically, they get more bloating, which is kind of funny because it oftentimes really helps with bloating. But then when we lower the dose, then we seem to find a happy point and they just have to build it up slower. But yeah, in terms of not tolerating the sulfur, I mean, the molybdenum's a good thought, just where it's, as I'm sure the person who posted the question, being a clinician, knows, but for folks listening, if you don't know, like, what's the molybdenum sulfur connection? It's a cofactor for sulfite oxidase, which is an important enzyme for processing sulfite groups in the body. I'm not really sure how important SUOX, like sulfite oxidase, is for MSM metabolism, and I've also not really found any like sulfite reactions in patients, which for folks listening, a sulfite reaction is very, very similar to a histamine reaction in many respects with a couple of differences. So I really haven't found that in anyone so far. So I don't really think about it through like a SUOX kind of mediated thing. Yeah, my best theory is that it depends on the nature of the reaction. I mean, I'm trying to remember now. I think they've all been gastrointestinal in nature, but there might be others, maybe some like other more systemic reactions like fatigue or something like that. But for the gastrointestinal issues, I think that it's probably just killing off microbes in the gut too aggressively is my best theory. For the more systemic issues, I think I've had maybe 1 or 2 patients like that, and I assume it has more to do with just upregulating detox pathways by just getting more sulfur available, more phase 2 detoxification, and that's maybe triggering some systemic issues because they're detoxing too quickly. But yeah, there's a few patients where it's just really breaks my heart a little bit because I think they really, really need MSM, but we haven't been able to figure out a way to get them to tolerate it. So yeah, haven't mastered that yet. But I have had some patients where they need to go down to like the pinch level. But yeah, as you're saying here, even at a pinch, they're flaring. So with those ones, I haven't figured that one out yet. If anybody listening has a solution, please let us know. It'd be great to have more information on that, but have not figured that one out yet. Let's see. And then the last question is, what are my thoughts on the Primal Trust system? So my thoughts are that I think Primal Trust is awesome. I have interviewed Dr. Kathleen King, who developed Primal Trust. It's her brainchild for my podcast. So please check out that episode if you're interested. And I also interviewed one of my patients, Dr. Gabrielle Donnelly, who was on my podcast as well, and she had a fantastic experience with Safe and Sound. I've had a number of other patients who have had great experiences with it as well. I do have some patients where they've done the Safe and Sound protocol. Primal Trust is what I'm talking about, not Safe and Sound. There's another question here about Safe and Sound, which I'm not answering today. So Primal Trust. And some patients where they just really haven't seen benefit the way they were hoping to. Maybe they were feeling more sound like sleep wise or mood wise or anxiety wise, but they just haven't seen that improvement with their energy levels or reduction in pain or things like that they were hoping to see with it. Now in those cases, I'm not a Primal Trust expert, so I don't know if there's a way they could do it differently, or maybe they're not exploring it deeply enough, or maybe they need to work with a Primal Trust coach. So I'm not insinuating that Primal Trust like just dropped the ball in those particular cases, but just what they reported to me is that some patients have been like, yeah, it just hasn't really helped the way that I was hoping it would, but maybe it helped in other ways. So yeah, I think Primal Trust is great. I refer patients to it regularly. I plan to do it myself at some point. Just had a bit of a curveball in my life with my family member in the hospital, so that's been further pushed down the list of things to work on. But eventually, I plan to go through it myself because there's a lot of opportunity for just self-growth and development, I think, by going through the Primal Trust protocol for folks who aren't suffering from complex chronic illness as well. Thanks as always for the questions. I hope this information was of interest. If you have questions on these topics or anything else, please just post in the comment section below, and I will do my best to answer as soon as I can.